Good morning, and I would just like to add my welcome to that expressed by Mr. Marley. A warm welcome to you all at our Founders' Day ceremony for 2017. On the 3rd of February 1960, the British Prime Minister Harold Macmillan made a famous speech in the South African Parliament. It was a fairly long speech, but the most important paragraph read as follows. The wind of change is blowing through this continent, and whether we like it or not, this growth of national consciousness is a political fact. We must all accept it as a fact, and our national policies must take account of it. He went on to warn the South African politicians in Parliament on the day that unless they embraced and came to terms with these winds of change, all that they had built and were striving to achieve would be at risk. The South Africans, and indeed people from around the world, many people around the world, were outraged. And the South African Prime Minister at the time rejected the warning that Macmillan gave and chose to lead South Africa on a different path to the rest of Africa. History, of course, proved Macmillan correct and Verwoerd wrong. Almost exactly 34 years after that speech, the dream of a racially segregated South Africa lay in ruins as our country held our first truly democratic election on the 27th of April 1994. The winds of change are blowing in South African education as schools and tertiary educations have to deal with challenges from students, parents, politicians, the media, and the public in general on an almost daily basis. Many of the demands being made seem to be unreasonable and sometimes outright dangerous. Yet, like the South African government in 1960, we are at the crossroads. Either we accept that change is inevitable, embrace it and move with the times, or we stubbornly hang on to what we are familiar with and ultimately risk losing everything. The management and governors of this fine school continually act in the best long-term interest of the Wynberg boys' school community, whilst trying to balance the interests and these interests with the demands being made on the institutions. This means a delicate balancing act between maintaining all that is good and noble about our schools, but also introducing changes necessary to keep us relevant today. The Wynberg boys' schools have been very fortunate to have school leaders and governors who have made it their business to be proactive in adapting to change, resulting in our schools being seen as leaders in the fields of multiculturalism, tolerance, and racial integration. This trend has continued this year with the revision of many of our policies, the evaluating of the relevance of our symbols and names, and our social cohesion program, which involved the entire population of the school. Today's ceremony is a watershed and reflects Wynberg as it is today. On the one hand, we are honouring a promise made to friends and families of young Wynberg men who were killed at war. This is a fine and noble tradition which we all want to continue. Yet at the same time, we have the unveiling of the plaque honouring Wynberg generations in the Garden of Remembrance, which may be viewed after the ceremony. We have the first black African Wynberg Old Boy delivering the John McNaughton address, which will be happening shortly, if he hasn't got scared and run away. No, he's still there. And lastly, the announcement of the change of their house names. From the inception of our Social Cohesion Committee almost 24 months ago, the Wynberg Boys Schools embarked on a discussion on the relevance of the house names. This process included exhaustive surveys with our Wynberg staff, students, parents, and old boys. In addition, we held focus group discussions. We sought guidance from legal experts, change strategists, independent historical consultants, and we conducted our own research. These processes delivered a clear mandate to rename our schoolhouses, to reflect our heritage in the broader Wynberg community. It's now my pleasure to call Mr. Cedric Poleman forward to announce the 4 house names that will be shared between our schools.
Thank you very much, Mr. De Waal. It is my pleasure to be here and to be part of this amazing opportunity that we are faced with. The names that will be shared between both Wynberg Boys High School and Wynberg Boys Junior School will be Glebe, the original home of the Wynberg Boys Schools in 1841, Oude Wynberg, the original estate where the Jacques Callis Oval is today, Silverhurst, a former junior boarding house, and Sunnyhill, the land where Nixon School was located before moving to where the current Wynberg Boys Junior School is.
So that would be Glebe, Oude Wynberg, Silverhurst, and Sunnyhill would be the four that we'll share jointly. And the high school names that we will be adopting are Ortheden, that is the estate on which the high school is currently built. Travata, which is the geographical area that marks where these two schools are situated. Littlewood, the boarding house which was opened in 1957. And McNaughton, which is the first headmaster of Wynberg Boys School. And in those days the school was co-educational and open to all races. These names will be applicable from January 2018, and further details and an implementation plan will be communicated to all stakeholders in the very near future. I quote from a speech made by Mr. Poleman at the junior school ceremony held yesterday. He said, "Traditions and culture are not static. They don't stand still. They are always changing as each generation contributes its experience of the world and discards things that they see as no longer relevant to them." The Wynberg Boys Schools commit to continue building on the good traditions of the past. At the same time, we also commit to adapting when required in order to remain relevant within the local, national, and international context. In conclusion, I read from verse 1 of the school song. As an acorn to an oak tree, Wynberg School has proudly grown. Firm its roots and broad its branches. Best of schools, it stands alone. Super Morris.